That's right. That is right. We are here with Pam Stone this afternoon. We are going to have a few laughs here today. That's right. Pam Stone, she is a comedian. She is a storyteller. She is a writer. She's a horsewoman. She lives on a farm, and she's loving every minute of us. She's been here to Greenwood before. She's been on the show before. I am thrilled to introduce to you the former wife of On the Show Coach, Pam Stone. How you doing today, Pam?
Well, I'm just flawless, Ann. Thank you so much. Now, I wasn't the wife. That was Shelley Fabre. I was Dauber's girlfriend on Coach.
Oh,
that's
right.
I was the women's basketball coach.
Yes.
Yeah, I was his chick. I was his hot chick on the side.
Well, that is great. That is great. So, how is life on the farm?
Well, I am talking to you from the barn aisle. I've finished feeding the horses for the evening, and I pulled out a camp chair, and I plopped my butt down in it, and I'm facing the fields, and there's some horses out there in the fields that live out unless it's bad weather. So it's not a bad view from the office.
So are you looking at horses' butts? No, just...
I am. I'm looking at 4 horses' butts in front of me in the field, and then I've got a horse butt to each side. I'm like a stewardess, like going, if you know your exits are this way and that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
that's true. That's true. So
24/7 manure producing facility.
What do you do with manure, Pam?
Oh, Lord. Well, we try to give it away. I mean, about once a year, people that are doing their gardens will call and say, "Can we come by and get you?" I'm like, "Yes, please." So we have a manure removal. You see, there's a job for everybody in the South.
Right.
There's a guy that removes manure, and they come in a dump truck with a little bobcat. And they take the bobcat off the trailer and they drive that down and scoop it up and fill up the dump truck and haul it off. I don't know where they haul it to, but they haul it off. So, and it's like $125 a load to haul it off. And they usually take 2 loads out of here each month. But, that's the thing. And people don't think about jobs like that. But that's a good job because there's a lot of farms in this area.
And there's a lot of manure. There's a lot of poop.
There's a lot of manure, and there's even a job, there's some people, my riding arena is outdoors, but there's some people with really, fabulous stables that have indoor riding arenas, covered arenas.
Right.
And, it's lovely because they can ride in all weather, but the deal is, in those big metal trusses, what gets up there? Pigeons roost up there.
So and now you got pigeon poop.
Well, but what you have is, these ladies, these, middle-aged, very wealthy ladies are prancing around the arena on their horses, and then the pigeons are swooping down, and they'll swoop right in front of the horse and make the horse book and jump, and so you get like, how do I get rid of these pigeons? What do I do? And everybody around here says, you got to call Walter. He's the pigeon guy, and he shoots. And it's ridiculous to shoot them because they all come back. I mean, there's pigeons everywhere. So, but, that's the thing about the South. You just be a little creative. There's always a job. Always a job.
Yes. Well, now you train horses, right? I understand you've got a new horse you're training.
Yeah, I do a sport called dressage, and
that sounds fancy.
It is fancy. I have no business being in this business because it is the sport of kings. You hear about horse racing being the sport of kings. Anybody who does any kind of competitive riding, you just have to have a trust fund, which I do not have. And it's they're just eating me out of house and home. But I'm so addicted, I can't stop. So my youngest horse. I went to, and this sounds very like, oh, you rich ex-TV star. No, this was Pam maxing out her credit card and using a lot of frequent flyer miles. I went to France to find this horse, and I brought him back, which really irritated the guy sitting in the middle seat. But the point of it was...
Did anybody catch, wait a minute, did anybody catch that? I mean, that was just like a zinger.
Explain a joke. If you're not quick enough to be there, baby, I'm moving on. It's in the rearview mirror. All right? But because I had never been to France. I've traveled a lot, but I've never been to France. And I went to France, and I'm telling you, ever since I went to France, Anne,
yes,
I have been looking online at French real estate.
Are you serious?
I am deadly. Number one, the area where this horse was, and I'm going to say this so people can say, "What are you talking about?" Write this down, people. I love the idea of people being audacious enough to move to another country, especially when they're middle-aged and older. And I wrote that novel. I have a novel out called Girls Like Her, and it's all about this woman coming up to her 70th birthday, and she had always wanted to live in England because her mother was from England, and she lost her mother very early from breast cancer, and it was her dream. But like everybody else, the kids got in the way. She had to keep putting the dream on the back burner, right? Taking care of everybody else till she finally, and you have to read the book to see if her dream comes true or not, and how her family reacts to it, because a lot of people, you can be considered like someone like you is a great example. I know I'm going on a segue here, but just stick with me.
Keep going.
Like, I listen to you, and you're just a fireball. You're full of energy, and I got a cough. Excuse me. It's a virus that's been going around, and a lot of comedians have it because we've all been kissing the same ages. But,
Go ahead. Okay, we've got that one. Got that one.
There we go. So I listen to somebody like you, and you're like, you're just full of pea and vinegar.
Okay.
And you're somebody that I bet when people meet, they go, "Oh, Anne is just a fireball. She is just so self-sufficient, and she just goes. And then you say something like, at the age you are, I think I'm going to move to Paris. Or, people say, you're too old. What are you thinking? What if you get sick over there? What if all of a sudden you're too old to do that?
Right.
So that's why I wrote the book. So anyway, I went to France, and this region, and all your people listening, they're called departments over there instead of like counties or states in France. They're called departments. So the department is called Mayenne. It's M-A-Y, and you look this up, M-A-Y-E-N-N-E. It is it's like 2.5 hours, from Paris. It's about an hour south of Normandy. So if you think of a map of France and Normandy, where we stormed the beaches in Normandy, that is the northwest tip of France.
Right.
So this is in the northwest, but lower down. So I take the train, and I get a rental car. And when you get in the country, nobody speaks English. Nobody speaks English, and why would they? That would be like somebody coming into Greenwood who's from Russia. No one here speaks Russian. Well, right, because you're not in a big city, and you probably, So, but there's Google Translate on the phone, which helps a lot, and I learned a few phrases, and it is so charming. It's, it was nothing but hay fields. It was all agricultural, and then you would happen upon these medieval little hamlets and villages, and villages that are 1,000 years old with the cobbled street. Everything you dream of, of that. And I thought, oh, it's just so romantic. In the little town I was staying in called, we would say, Saint Suzanne, I would get up every morning at the views down to the river. Like, it's up on a hill, and you would look down into the valley. And I would go to the boulangerie every day, to the bakery, and get my baguette and have a cappuccino. And the whole lifestyle is, all the food is locally sourced and clean, and the people are lovely. And I was saying to the gentleman who sold me my horse, I said, "What is real estate like here?" And he said, "Oh, it's so cheap. It's so cheap. It's so cheap." And so I thought, well, how cheap? Because, you kind of think like, well, if you ever think about moving, or maybe if you ever get get enough money together to get a little holiday home over there, I'm telling you, you can get a completely refurbished, like 2-bedroom, quintessential French cottage, stone cottage with the little blue painted wooden shutters. You know, the whole romantic thing.
Right.
I'm telling you, you can get that for $100,000.
Wow.
With property. With property. I saw a horse farm. 30 acres, and a beautiful 2-story French house, old French house in beautiful condition, with a big old barn on it. It had 5 stalls, $375.
Wow.
Now you can't get a starter home for that anymore.
Well, that's true.
You know,
that's true.
Here, right?
Right.
And if you do, it'll be a nice little vinyl sided house somewhere with, vinyl plank flooring. And I'm looking at these houses with their oak floors and their terracotta kitchens and I look every day. And there's actually a Facebook site called Cheap French Houses.
Cheap French houses?
I look there every day, and I'm like, this is $55,000. Yeah. And some of them, the decor is a little old-fashioned, like the wallpaper, but who cares? It's cheaper than a new truck. It's a house. It's a whole house. And then I looked at, and poor Anne's like, I thought we were going to talk about funny stuff. What is she going on about France? Listen, I'm looking on those things. The property taxes on them, like $200 a year.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Well, I'm telling you. So is this a retirement dream, or are you going over there to get a work visa and work? I mean, what are you thinking?
Well, I would not work. No, I wouldn't work. It'd be a retirement thing. And here's the thing. You'll love this. If you retire to France, say you're at retirement age,
right,
and you retire, you have to show proof of passive income to be there, to make sure that you're not going to welch off their
system.
Their system. So guess how much you have to show that you earn per year?
I don't know. How much?
20. Well, in euros, so I'm going to translate it to American dollars, $20,000. $20,000 a year. And then you have to have their health insurance to make sure, you got to pay for that. Their health insurance is what my health insurance would cost for 2 months here. It's there for a year.
Okay.
So now you're starting to get it, right? Now you're starting to get it. Plus the best wine in the world. So you live somewhere where this is really cheap to live here, and the food's great. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
So this.
I'll invite you over.
Okay. Well, I think that sounds great. I'll let you invite me over. That sounds like a cool idea. So when is this going to be happening? When is this going to be happening?
Oh, baby, I'm just looking. These are pipe dreams right now.
Okay.
These are pipe dreams right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you bring a horse back from over there? In the middle seat, like you said, or how do you bring a horse back?
Yeah. So they have chartered flights. And the horses are taken to the airport hours before and in Europe, if you buy a horse in Europe, they all have to fly out of Schiphol in Belgium is that airport. And so the horses are trucked in the middle of the night, and as soon as they step off the truck and trailer, they are taken into this area where they walk into this stall. It's like a giant dog crate, okay? But it's open, so their heads can stick up. But it looks like a horse stall, but it's on a forklift can scoot up underneath it, and then it picks it up and shoves it into the belly of the plane.
Now, did you fly back with your horse, or did the horse come later?
The horse came later because it's have you ever seen photographs of Army transport
planes? Right.
You see the interior, and all the poor service guys are sitting on their helmets.
Right.
There's no real seats or anything. That's what these horse cargo things are like. So the horses are all in the hold, and there's no real place for you to sit. There's a couple of seats. So I took a flight. I think I was on American or something like that. And it took him, and they have to come through JFK, and then they have to go into quarantine if they're geldings, like he is, for 3 days. And then he was on a truck and trailer from JFK down to here. So he did a lot of traveling.
Let me ask you something. Can you get airline miles for that?
You would think so. Because it ain't cheap but that's what plastic is for.
Right.
And and I bring this horse over from France, and he comes with his French attitude, and he comes to Campobello, South Carolina, and he's like, I do not know what this is. I do not know what this is. I have no idea. Where is my croissant? I don't know what this is.
Well,
I can't understand anything. I cannot understand these other horses.
I thought maybe he liked some of those southern fillies.
Yeah, I don't have any fillies on the property. That's the problem.
Oh, well, that's the problem. Yeah.
It took him a little while to adjust and then get introduced to all the other animals. So now you have a new dog.
I do. I think I just sent you some pictures. Penny, Princess Penny.
Yeah. Oh, I got to pull it up. So this is a puppy, right?
Well, she's 14 months old. But she still acts very puppy-like. She thinks that everybody is there for her. Yes.
Oh, she's cute.
Yes.
Oh, and she's actually a good size. She's not like a little teacup.
No. She's what's called, it's very, very French, a moyen poodle. It's a mid-size. Yes, it's between a standard poodle and a miniature. She's about 15, 16 inches tall and weighs about 20 pounds. Yeah.
See, that's perfect because Paul had said, because we're both in our 60s now, and when after we lost our Jack Russells, we said, well, we'll go for a year without having a dog, so we have some freedom. Well, that lasted like 3 months, and I was looking at the Greenville Animal Control, the GHC
Animal shelter.
site.
Yeah.
Animal shelter, not control, and there were these 2 puppies that looked exactly like our Jacks. I mean, the same color markings and everything. And they were litter mates. They were sisters from the same litter. And they had been found wandering down the street. They were like, 9 weeks old or something and turned in. And I showed Paul and he went, oh, and I said, this means, puppies starting all over. And he said, yeah. And I said, but, they were advertised as Jack Russell crosses. And I said, but, this is good because when you get to a certain age and you decide you're going to get another dog, and let's say the dog lives to be 15, and let's say you're 65, and you're thinking, okay, 75, 80, I'll be 80 years old when that dog is towards the end of its life. You have to start thinking this. As they get older, they need more vet clinic,
more care. Right.
And we all know perfectly well that dogs never get sick between 9 and 5 on weekdays. If they're going to get sick, it's Sunday at 9 p.m., right?
Exactly.
And you got to go to the emergency clinic.
Yes.
Right? And you got to think, do you want to be 80 years old trying to lift the damn Weimar armor into the car?
Right.
You got to think that.
Yes.
So you got to think of a more mobile-sized dog that you can scoop up when you're at a more advanced age. You don't want to be pulling a St. Bernard, when you're well into your older years. So I'm all excited because I'm like, well, this is cute because we do love Jack so much. And I remember when we drove him home, I said, they can't have gotten the birth dates right on these dogs because they're big for 6 weeks old or something. They're 9 weeks old. They're like little piglets. And it turned out, Ann, that they weren't Jack Russells at all. They were hounds. They were big old hounds. They were big old dumb hounds.
So they're big dogs.
Oh, no. As they were growing, they're big old that's the way they talk all the time. And they curl up. They curl up on the couch, and they're called Poppy and Posy. And Posy is a tricolor. She's black and brown. I think she's like a plot hound. She's like a plot hound. And she'll be all curled up in a circle, and she sees you coming, and she starts wagging her tail. But because she's in a circle, her tail is beating herself in the head, and it's hitting her in the eyes, and she's blinking, and she looks at you like, why does it hurt so much to be so happy? Why does it always hurt me when I'm happy? I just want to understand it. And you take them out, and they're like, oh.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, God, these are not Jack Russells.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, Jack Russells are nonstop. And hounds kind of wear out after, they don't handle heat really well. They don't like being out when it's really cold. They're the Jack Russells we would let out on the farm, and you would never see them again. They were just like, boom. Yeah, they were just like out. they were, going after squirrels or we never had a squirrel. I had an apple orchard here when I had those Jack Russells, and I used to have such a bounty of apples every year because the squirrels wouldn't get near them because the Jacks did their job. With the hounds, they don't even know. They'll chase the squirrel because they see something moving, and then if they get too close to it, they're like, "Well, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do with it. What do I do? Do I bring it in the house? Do you cook it?" It's
Yeah, plus deer. I mean, how are they with the deer? Penny loves to chase the deer, and every time we have deer in the field, and if I let her go, man, I just thank the deer in the end because she is pooped out, and we are done exercising, and it's great. But how do your dogs do with the deer?
Great. So they run flat out. They're like quarter horses. Quarter horses run a quarter of a mile. That's it. They don't. They have quick opening speed, and then that's it. They can't run like a thoroughbred. And hounds are the same way. They'll go flat out for about 50 feet. They're like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I'm done. I'm exhausted. My back hurts. I got to come in.
So how old?
Learn to open. Go ahead.
No, I said, how old are they now?
They are 8 now. They are 8 years old. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And they love going in the car, and they stick their big hound heads out the window, and they're just, they're lovely. And they've learned how to, because I thought this would be helpful when I'm carrying groceries. So our doorknob on our front door is a lever,
Right.
Instead of a round knob, it's like a handle.
Right.
And I taught Posey how to open that so she could open the door for me if I was carrying something heavy. Well, now she does it all the time. I mean, she'll go outside and then she'll want to come in the house, and I have to remember, like when I let her out, I have to lock that door, because if I forget and they're out running around, then I hear them. I hear the door like click, and it slams against the wall. And they come running down the hall. Hey, everybody, over me! And they're got muddy feet. They're chasing the cats. So, oh Lord! And they absolutely have to sleep in the bed with us. And they're big.
They're big dogs.
They're like 40. Well, they're like 40 pounds or 40-pound hounds, and so they just they get in the bed, and then they have to get under the covers because they get chilly. And they lay under there, and they stick their big hound butt right in your face, and oh my gosh. I love them to death, though. Your dog was bred to be a hunter, from the French hunting tradition, probably hunting boar, a lot of the standard. And I love standard poodles. I love standard poodles because, they are tough dogs. They are big. I mean, they're beautiful, and they got that great face like your little dog does, that big smiley face, but they are tough, and they are big. And they look at you like, yeah, that's my freaking bow. What do you want to make about it?
That's right.
They come back from the groomer. They got that little bow. Yeah, it's my freaking bow. It's not my idea. You want to take it outside?
That's true. That's true. Well, Penny is a lot of company. We've taught her to raise her paw when you say to her, now, would you like to say hi? And Penny will raise her paw to be introduced. Eventually, she's going to be on the show, but I'm a little worried because I know she's going to take over the show, and I'll just have to sit in the back and say, well, go for it. I don't have anything to say.
Well, and when I had my radio show, because we did it out of the farm here,
right?
And we have the studio behind the barn that we call the Unabomber Shack because we didn't have any plumbing in it or anything like that. But you would hear on my show, Bonnie and Rosie, the Jack Russells, barking nonstop because they had Tree the squirrel, and not my producer because he'd be on the air with me, but the program director Neil Sharp called me on the hotline. He's like, "You've got to shut the dogs up. You've got to shut the dogs up," because we'd be doing talk radio like you and I are, and in the background you just hear, that high pitched Jack Russell.
Yep.
Yeah.
That happens sometimes.
Go ahead.
No, I said that happens with Penny sometimes. Yes.
Yeah, that excitable little high pitched bark, and I miss my pups so much. Bonnie and Rosie, so Poppy and Posey now. But I remember asking my vet, I said, how long did Jack Russells live? Because, I'd heard all different ages. And he said, well, nobody's really been able to get a good idea on that because so few of them die natural deaths.
What is that supposed to mean?
That means that they're like electrocuted from like because if you've ever had a Jack Russell, they get into everything. They are so disobedient and so naughty, or they'll chase a rabbit across the street and get hit by a car, or mine would chase the horses, and I'd have to really haul them off and give them a spank because I'd be like, you're gonna get kicked in the head. And sure enough, they got kicked in the head. But it didn't, it stopped them from chasing, but they survived it.
Did they have a hoof print on their head?
No, it's a terrible thing to witness. You see them, they'd be running right after the horses, like, and the horses would be like, get the out of here, and you just see the dogs flying. You're not like, oh my God, and running out there, and the dog's like drunk for a second, like, I'm fine, I just got to walk it off, I'll be fine.
Yeah, it's the way kids used to be raised. Didn't you ever have that experience?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm hurt. Nah, you're all right. Let me put some mercurochrome on it. Get back out there.
Yeah. My dad would always go to Listerine because it, supposedly fought germs. So anytime we had a scrape or anything, put some Listerine on it, walk it off, rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, today you'd have to go to the doctor, get a shot, and all this other stuff. Back then, how did we survive, Pam? That's what I want to know.
We survived because we were the last of the feral children. That's why we rolled in dirt, and we were feral children. My parents had no idea where we were at any time during the day. No idea. We just, where we lived, it was rural. And we had a couple of ponies in the backyard with a little stable, and other kids in the neighborhood did. And we would get off the school bus, and we'd meet up at somebody's house on our ponies, our little $100 ponies, and we would go riding back through the woods on these trails that we had made ourselves, that we'd raked out and built, little jumps made out of fallen logs and stuff. And we would ride miles, and never wore a helmet, never wore, we're riding in flip-flops and a pair of shorts, and we would never, our parents had no idea where we were. We would come back hours later. We could have gotten, bucked off. It was just, but what, I'm so grateful I had that childhood, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
It gave you so much audacity. We had so much self-confidence. We could do anything. We could go anywhere because we weren't afraid of anything. Nobody was telling us to put your helmet on if you're going to get on your bicycle.
Right. We were fearless.
Right.
Fearless. Yes.
Right. We were fearless. There was and I'm sure there were children that were kidnapped back then. Like, everybody's terrified of now because we've got 24-hour news cycles that we see these things. But as kids, none of that entered our mind.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We were just, I'm really grateful there weren't phones. I'll tell you that much.
Well, I think that I think in truth in today's world we have children. We used to eat dirt. How about you? Did you ever eat a mud pie?
Well, I never ate a mud pie.
Did you ever taste it?
I will say that. I'll never.
Did you taste it?
Probably stuck my tongue on it and went, this tastes like mud.
But today, we just have such fear of everything. And so I think our kids, they really suffer because they don't, a lot, not all, but a lot don't have that confidence.
Well, that's true. Although my mother was English and very, very proper. And so for her growing up, us all living in Georgia was a horror show from her. Can you imagine coming from a very privileged, upper-class English lifestyle to living in, North Georgia? And she would see us going down to the barn to feed the ponies barefoot in the summer because we never wore shoes in the summer, And she would say, going to get hookworms. She knew all about hookworms because that was something historic about people sometime in history. Oh, I know what it was. When people were there was a generation of Southerners. I just heard this on public radio. There was a generation of Southerners, like in the 30s, in the 40s, and they were described almost as really inbred. We're not talking about Appalachia in general, but just throughout the South, that they were very pale and listless, and they were kind of lumped together as these, these Southern people that were just listless and and thin and just and
not healthy,
not healthy. And because they weren't healthy, they were listless, so they were considered like lazy and just sitting around and stupid, and and it turned out that during those decades there had been a massive infection of hookworms, which caused, I think, pernicious anemia or something, and it was rampant through the South. And but isn't that interesting? I'm just saying that because my mom, as kids, she would just say, "You're going to get hookworm. Put your shoes on. You're going to step in manure and get hookworm."
Well, that's very interesting because I watch TV sometimes, and the thing that they are advertising, I am obsessed with all the things that we can get to solve all our ailments. But the one thing they've been talking about is this drug, whatever, or this tonic, this thing you can take, gets rid of parasites. Yeah. And this is a big thing. And I'm like going, do I have parasites? OMG.
They want you to think you could have parasites because I think there are probably a substantial portion of the population that has parasites, but they want you to think it. They want you to think that you do have it, so that you buy that. So if I have parasites, I bet you my tetanus titers through the roof. I mean, I get a tetanus jab every 10 years, but I would bet you from handling horses and rusty gates and manure and all that stuff, I would bet you my titers through the roof.
Well, it could be, but, this thing, and I mean, every time you turn around, I mean, now they're pushing Liverite for your liver. You've got parasites. You've got all these different things that are wrong. If you subscribe to everything that they said, you would have no time to do anything else except take all these pills all day long to make sure you were covered.
Crazy. It sounds like the old-fashioned snake oil salesman out standing in the back of a pickup truck.
Exactly.
Doesn't it?
And they're all dressed in little doctors type uniforms type things to make you believe. Yeah. To make you believe.
AI, and if you look on like YouTube and you see all these AI videos of fake, how they'll have Oprah telling you how if you take honey and cinnamon before you go to bed, I'm like, that is not Oprah. It's Oprah. They're using her likeness.
Right.
They're stealing her. And so you see all these celebrities. This AI. I hate AI. I hate AI. So it's like I think it's going to be. I won't even go on about it because I'm so serious about it. But I think it's like the end of our society. AI.
Well,
they have data centers.
Oh, yes. Well, they just approved one, I think, in Spartanburg, aren't they? And they put a big one, or they
had it. And this old hippie activist, I'm out there trying to spread the word like, don't put that thing in here.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, on to funnier subjects.
Yes.
On to funnier subjects.
Well,
I would love to come back down again. I haven't seen you in ages since I came down and did the country club.
Right. GP Greenwood Performing Arts. Yep. That was a good one. Well, sometime you should come down here and we should have lunch and come on the radio and see what trouble we can get into.
I would love to do that. I've got to find it's so the thing about living on a farm is it does hold you captive.
Yes.
Because you're like always looking at your watch. Well, I got to be back to feed them, bring the horses in and stuff like that. But if I get, and I still do corporate gigs all the time. I get, people that'll ask me to do. I do a lot of those for, employee lunches or award banquets and things like that, and they'll trot me in as the comedian for that. But if I get another one in Greenwood, absolutely, we'll hook up.
Absolutely. Well,
and I'll bring you some parasitic tonic.
Oh, well, good. I think one of the things we should close out is the state of comedy. I mean, are we not starved for comedy right now?
Yeah, and that that was the column that I write for the Index Journal. I was doing a corporate show in Asheville and coming back home. And it's exactly what you said, because right now, this is a scary time that we're living in right now, regardless of what side of the political aisle you are on.
Absolutely.
There are things going on that do not sit well with us, right? I mean, there's things that are very frightening to both sides. And the news is, everything is happening so fast that you can't keep up with it. You know, you check headlines and like, did you see that? Oh my God, did you see that? You know, like all day long, and it becomes kind of like a blur, and people are so angry on both sides. And when I did this gig in Asheville, one thing as a comedian, you learn how to read a room quite quickly, you know, and that's from, I mean, my gosh, I probably played Vegas 30 times. And especially when you're working Vegas and you're doing like that third show on a Saturday night and the audience is in there and you can tell they've been at the craps table and probably lost their kids' college fund, you know, and they're drunk and you're like, oh God, this is like a really kind of ticked off crowd. And for me, I kind of match that energy beginning and then I pull it up. And when I do shows like I did in Asheville, it was a corporate kind of, you know, like a function. It was a medical thing, and the people there were it was like an all-day thing, and the people had been listening to different speakers, and they just wanted to go home. You know, by the time they did the dinner, which was function food, right? You know, you do these things, and there's function food, and it's like, all right, you either get the little pork medallions or the chicken, and you can just tell the people, they just wanted to go home. They'd been there all damn day, and they just wanted to go home. And so, and now comedian Pam Stone, and they're like, oh God. And so I would just meet them with that. I would meet them with that attitude, that energy. Like I would just look at them and I would say, God bless you. You just want to be home. You just want to be home in your boxers and take your bra off. Or if you're like me, you want to do both. You know, you just want to take, I'll bet you the Queen of England, God rest her soul, I'll bet you Queen Elizabeth at the end of each day when she, you know, when they would trot her out and she'd have to open this and open that and do a speech here. I bet even the Queen, the first thing she did when she got up, Philip, I've got to get out of this bra. You know, you just, the freedom of taking your bra off. And, you know, in the crowd, they knew that I got it. They knew that it was okay, that I wasn't going to sit there with a big plastic grin like, hi, how's everybody doing? Hey, how you know? But that, like, I know you don't want to be here. And I told them, I said, you're eating function food in a function room, and you don't want to be here. And they loved that. They loved that. I was just being very real with them. And my act is very consistent. I mean, I've been doing stand-up comedy for well over 30 years, and my act always works. And you've seen me do my stand-up.
Yeah.
And I'm a very consistent act. And I know where the big laughs are, and I know where, like, the medium laughs are. They were just roaring at every bit that I did, to the point where I said, you know, are you laughing to be sarcastic? Because I said, that's a good joke, but it's not that good a joke.
It's not that good.
It's not that good. And they were just like laughing and laughing. And I said, you need to laugh, don't you? You know, and it really hit me. I said, because you're just done, aren't you? I said, you need to laugh. If you weren't here, you'd be duking it out with people you hate on Facebook. You know, you'd be duking it out about politics, and you would be, you know, you'd be going nuts. And they were like, yes. And, you know, at the end of a show, when people come up to you and say, I can't remember the last time I had a belly laugh.
Right.
And that's sad.
It is.
That's sad, you know, because you and I grew up with Carol Burnett and all, you know, every time you watch TV, All in the Family, it was full of belly laughs. You know, I mean, everything was really funny. That you watch movies and TV that was really funny.
And how about laughing? Oh my gosh!
Laughing,
right?
Absolutely. You know, as goofy as that was, it was just all funny. And I look at people today, and people are just done. They're tired. You know, and people are struggling too. People are struggling. Things are very, very expensive. And so when you're struggling all the time and the fight is out of you, you don't feel like laughing. Nothing's funny. You know,
or
nothing's
or
funny.
you need
Everything's hard.
or you need that laugh, and you discover that laugh. And I know a lot of people actually that have gone off of social media or have cut back their social media so
Yeah.
much because they're so tired of the angst going on all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and then you feel like, okay, well, I'm not going to be on Facebook or Instagram anymore because of that. And then you're kind of out of the loop because,
Right?
you know, for a lot of us, that's how we keep up with our friends and what they're doing. And so it's just very difficult. But that's what I learned is that it's almost a ministry. I look at doing stand-up comedy as a ministry because if you can create that kind of laughter for 45 minutes, like nonstop, I think you've done some healing.
You
I think
have.
you've done some healing. We know that. I mean, medical studies show that it releases endorphins and all that stuff. So I continue to do it because I enjoy it, and these freaking horses are eating me out of house and home.
So you gotta quote, get a job, and that's why you're looking at France. You're going to become a travel agent for France, right?
Oh, I just look, you know, it was like living in a country is much, much, much different than visiting it. Because when we all go on vacation, we all think, oh, it'd be so great to live here all the time.
Right.
You know, you go to Key West and you go, oh, God, wouldn't it be great to have a little condo? It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as visiting. It's a whole different thing, especially when I know the country. But I loved that time that I was there and going into the little bakeries, all the little romantic French stuff that we love.
Sure.
You know?
And you actually saw it.
I saw it and I ate it and I drank it and you know, and I remember sitting in and it was sitting in a little bistro with the red and white checkered tablecloths, right?
Right.
And in the town square, and school let out on the other side of the square. And I see all these children, like 12 years old, and they were the village is very historical. It was the only village in all of France that conquered William the Conqueror.
Wow.
That he couldn't beat up Saint Suzanne, so they left. So the teachers had created this kind of scavenger hunt for the kids, so they could learn more about the historical aspect of Saint Suzanne, and the kids were divided in groups, and this was the blue group, that was the red group, that was the orange group, and the teachers had tied like blue, red, orange ribbons in different parts of the village, and each place where they had tied the ribbons denoted some historical aspect of that point. And so I remember seeing these kids, and all the kids were like running around because whoever got all the ribbons first and collected it all got a big prize. And so I had just been up on the fortress wall, and I had seen, like, blue ribbons tied up there. And I went, oh, that's got to be, you know. So I'm walking through the lane, and this gaggle of kids, 12, 13-year-olds, come running, and they're laughing and talking and trying to follow the piece of paper. And one boy stops, and he goes, Madame. And I said, parlez-vous English? And he said, oh, a little. And he said, have you seen, you know, he hears a 12-year-old kid speaking better English than a lot of Americans I know. And he's saying, have you seen any blue ribbons? And I said, yes, I was just back there. You have to go up the stairs at the very top of the fortress. And he threw his arms open wide, and he went, that is beautiful. and they all took off. And I'll tell you one thing, all those kids were skinny like you and I were skinny growing up.
Right.
All of those kids were skinny.
Yeah.
You know, running around. They rode their bicycle to school. No school buses.
Wow.
Walking. No moms lined up at 3:00. You see that in schools now.
Oh yeah.
The kids don't ride the school buses, and you see the parents just sitting in their cars for like an hour at every school waiting for these kids. They're all feral. They're all feral French kids.
Well, you know, it sounds like it's a throwback to a different time. That they're not where we are today. Yes.
Yeah, and it's very safe. It's very safe there. Very, very, very safe. So, I mean, crime is virtually non-existent in the countryside there. So
Wow.
I think that's a big part of it as well. So, but anyway, I'm going to send you a couple of, because we'll be texting back and forth. I'm going to send you a couple of properties. And
Okay.
You're going to look at those and say, okay, Pam, I get what you're saying now.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds good. Well, listen, Pam Stone, comedian, writer, storyteller. You can catch her story every week in the Index Journal. It has been an absolute blast to spend an afternoon. I wish we'd had a glass of wine. Did you have one? I didn't have one.
Gosh, I wish I did. No, I'm still just sitting in the barn. And they both pooped, so I'm gonna. As soon as we hang up, I'm gonna be cleaning out that manure. I'm such a big TV star,
well,
you know.
Well, you just ruined the image. But anyways, I hope we can do this again. It's beautiful.
That's beautiful. All right, my dear. I enjoyed it, and best to you. And what are you giving up for Lent? Anything?
No, I don't have anything left to give up.
There you go. I like taking things on. I'm not Catholic, but the Pope did say for Lent he hoped people would stop calling other people names.
Okay.
I'm all about that. Aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't serve a purpose. So is that what you're doing for Lent, or is there anything else you're taking on or giving up?
I'm going to take things on. I am involved in the Spartanburg group that are trying to prevent data centers from coming into the area.
Right.
So that's important to me for our local residents and the environment and everybody's utility bills.
Right.
So yeah, I'm going to take that on, and I'm going to take on just trying to be more patient and kinder.
That's tough as a comedian, isn't it?
Well, but I'm only a comedian when I'm off the farm. But you know how it is. You just be more patient, and we don't have traffic here unless I'm behind a tractor or something. But just in general, when people, there's always people in our lives that were like, "Yep, go on, Just be a little more patient, be a little kinder."
Absolutely.
That's what I'm going to do.
Well, Pam Stone, it's been a pleasure. We'll have to do this again sometime. Thanks for coming on WCRS this evening.
You bet, and much love, and talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye, Pam Stone. Bye-bye. Well,
Bye.
that was Pam Stone with us here this afternoon. I thought we could use a humor break, and I think we had a humor break. You certainly heard a lot of stories from being in France to being on the farm to what she's into. So that was a lot of fun, and I hope that you enjoyed that little respite from all the rest of the news out there. I am Ann Eller, and I do want to remind you, I will be back in the morning right here on WCRS. And yes, tomorrow is Friday, isn't it? Yes, it is. Friday it is. So we'll be talking and chatting about things going on this weekend. FYI, if you don't know it, you certainly can get a free chicken biscuit at Chick-fil-A through the 28th of February. You just have to do it on your app. So if you'd like to do that, make sure you take advantage of that. And there's other things going on too. This weekend is going to be George Washington's birthday celebration, 294 years. And yes, he is going to have a party at the museum, I think that is 11 to 2. 11 to 2, and Karen Petit is going to be there. She is reading parts of her book, Celebrate America. Louie, her dog, will be there. That'll be a lot of fun, so make sure you are checking that out. That will be going on 11 to 2. Also, I'd like to tell you to please check out the Fiddle and the Bow up there in Honeypath, because Linda Gale Lewis, who is the sister of Jerry Lee Lewis, is going to be there. Now, she's 80 years young, and she is going to be there having a good time, and I'm going to be there. I'm hoping to have a good time, too, going up there to just have some fun. But if you would like to get tickets to that, tickets are, I believe, $30 for that, so take advantage of that. 115 tickets, so it's a small venue. You will have a blast. You will have a blast. Check that out. By the way, have you been following Her Majesty and Liberty, the bald eagles out there at the lake? Evidently, Her Majesty has disappeared. They're not really sure what happened to her. And isn't it just like a woman to come in and take over? Because now there is another female bald eagle that is in the nest with, I guess, with Liberty. And they are moving forward. But the story continues. What has happened to Her Majesty? So that's another story. I like to follow that one just because I can, and I like to follow that. I just thought I would mention that. A couple other things that are going on. What else do I have for you here today? Ready, set, bingo, Chick-fil-A. Bring the whole family and join us for a night of fun and prizes. Oh, and you can eat dinner too. That is Monday, February 23rd. From 6 to 7:30. That'll be going on, so check that out. Had a lot of fun with Pam this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed that show, something a little different. We also had a great conversation yesterday with TJ Shadone. He, of course, is our police chief here. You can see that on Facebook. But if you don't like going on Facebook, you can simply go to our website. Excuse me. You can go to our website, WCRS1450am.net, and watch the interview there. We also had two of the self-regional doctors from Advanced Surgical. We were talking about the Da Vinci robot machinery that they use, operating machines that they use to use much smaller, and we talked about colon cancer, colorectal cancer, and how they work with that. So that was a very important conversation this week, too. So, as we close this show out, I just want to say, what a blast. I really do have, I think, one of the best jobs in the world because I get to talk to so many people. I get to find out information, and I get to be on the radio with you each and every day. Just had Lisa Sanders here recording a new commercial for GPA's Bourbon Boots and Bourbon. Bourbon Boots and Blues. I think that's right, Ann. Bourbon Boots and Blues. E.G. Kite is going to be here for that, as well as Wesley Timmerman is going to be teaching us. He is a connoisseur of bourbon. He has $10,000 bottles of bourbon. He has less expensive bottles of bourbon, but he is into bourbon, and he's going to be educating those that want to be educated about bourbon. I don't know why I'm choked up here now. Choked up. Anyways, that's coming up on March 12th. So make sure you take advantage of that. Get your tickets. You can get them at the Arts Center. You can also get them online. So, you know, sometimes you just can't help it, and I just couldn't help that. So I am sorry. But also want to tell you, if you like Breakfast at Tiffany's, if you ever saw that movie, or if you've never seen that movie, it is going to be on the big screen at the Greenwood Premier Theaters. I think that would be fun to go to. That is Sunday and Wednesday. Sunday and Wednesday, you can check out the times on that. And I just got a note from from the YMCA, our YMCA here, telling me that they've got something going on. Here it is. Get moving with self at the Greenwood YMCA. This is going to be Friday, February 27th, so that is a week from tomorrow. Program title, Nutrition and Lifestyle. Dr. Jennifer Jones will be the speaker, and this is open to the public. YMC membership is not required, so they would love to have you come out with another Get Moving with Self session at the Greenwood YMCA, presented by Self Regional Healthcare and the YMCA. Dr. Jennifer Jones, a provider at Family Healthcare Savannah Lakes, will lead a conversation focused on nutrition and lifestyle. Whether you're looking to build healthier habits, improve your overall wellness, or simply learn practical tips, you can apply it to every day. This is, as I said, open to the public. It is at 12 noon on February 27th, which is next Friday, a week from Friday. Would be a great program to maybe get yourself moving and getting some good information. So that, my friends, is going to do it for me. I will be back tomorrow morning. Tune in if you're looking for a few laughs and a whole lot of information about what's going on right here in Greenwood. Would love to see you right here on the radio and on Facebook Live. So, with that being said, let's drop the curtain here and have a good evening. Be back in the morning. Bye-bye, everybody. Take it away, and here we go.